Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a moment that literally made the entire combat sports world drop its collective jaw. We are decoding the fall and the return, decoding Topuria's shocking defeat.
Okay, let's dive right into this. How on earth does a completely untouchable champion just lose everything at a single night? I mean, as fans, watching a massive aura of invincibility shatter in real time, it's mesmerizing, right? Heading into this matchup, literally everyone was on the same page. The whole MMA world was anticipating another routine title defense, another quick highlight for the reel. But the dramatic, totally jarring contrast between what Ilia Topuria expected when he walked into that cage and the brutal reality he actually ran into, man, we absolutely have to unpack that. This wasn't just dropping a decision on the scorecards. It was a fundamental disruption of what looked like a perfect career trajectory.
To really wrap our heads around the massive shockwave this sent through the community, we've got to rewind a bit and look at Topuria's pre-fight status. The guy was legendary. We're talking undefeated, two-division champion. Honestly, widely considered one of the absolute most feared men walking the planet right now. For years, every single challenge placed in front of him ended exactly the same way, with utter dominance and him sleeping guys. He walked in with a flawless record and an aura that basically screamed, "I am invincible." Practically everyone was banking on another easy victory. You could see it in his walkout too. He looked totally relaxed, focused, and completely certain of his own supremacy.
So breaking it down, analysts gave the champion all the clear physical advantages. On paper, you have Topuria's tools, right? Blinding speed, devastating power, pinpoint accuracy, and of course, the distinct advantage of youth. Mechanically, everything was on his side. But then, you look across the cage at Justin Gaethje. And Gaethje's defining trait isn't something you can measure with a stopwatch or a punch speed metric. It's pure psychological resilience. The guy has literally built his entire career on proving people wrong. Every single time fans count him out, he brings this wild, unpredictable, visceral danger to the cage that just breaks all the standard rules.
And right from the opening bell, Gaethje completely tossed Topuria's game plan in the trash. He didn't fight like a guy just trying to survive the champion's onslaught. He fought like a man trying to take his soul. He dragged Topuria straight into what we call a war of attrition. If you're not familiar, that's a prolonged, incredibly brutal conflict where sheer toughness and endurance mean way more than pure technique. Gaethje forced the champ into this incredibly uncomfortable, grinding battle, and slowly, quietly, you could feel the momentum start to shift. Every single exchange was loaded with bad intentions, and the whole technical chess match? Yeah, that went right out the window.
So, this brings us to the big question, the one fans and analysts are still heavily debating today. Was there one specific, exact moment where the trajectory of the entire fight irreversibly changed? Because beneath the surface of those early exchanges, where Topuria was actually still landing and looking super dangerous, an opportunity presented itself. An opportunity that, in hindsight, might have cost him his undefeated record. I really want us to focus in on this highly debated, critical juncture in the fight.
Let's move to this sequence and see how it builds, step by step. Because guys, this right here is what changed everything. Step 1. Topuria appears to genuinely hurt Gaethje. The opportunity for a finish is quite literally right there. But instead of pressing forward with his usual ruthless aggression, step 2 happens. The momentum unexpectedly just slows down. Topuria actually hesitates, and in that split-second window, step 3 kicks in. Gaethje finds his rhythm again. By the time we hit step 4, the entire dynamic has flipped upside down, and real, heavy damage begins accumulating on Topuria. He failed to press his advantage, and he let a total master of chaos take the steering wheel.
As the fight dragged into the later rounds, the physical toll on the champion became absolutely unignorable. I mean, look at the visual and physical contrast from the start of the fight. Topuria's face was showing heavy signs of battle. You could see those striking exchanges were getting increasingly difficult for him to navigate. We saw significantly slower physical reactions, but honestly, the most jarring part was watching that supreme, untouchable confidence get severely tested. We weren't watching a highlight reel moment anymore, we were watching a battered fighter desperately struggling to survive deep in the trenches. And taking that extreme level of punishment actually sparked a massive split in how the MMA community viewed the fight's progression. On one side, you've got folks praising Topuria as a true warrior, a guy who flat out refused to quit, valiantly pushing through blinding pain just to protect his throne. But on the flip side, a lot of people question if he was taking dangerous, unnecessary damage. They argue it was simply pride, keeping him in a battle his body clearly wanted no part of anymore. It's a wildly polarizing debate, right? Heart versus health. And both sides present incredibly compelling perspectives on the brutal reality of combat sports.
When the final bell finally rang and the grueling battle ended, the atmosphere in the arena was just eerie. The usual post-fight conversation completely abandoned all title talk. Nobody was debating rankings, nobody was shouting out the next contender, none of that. Instead, attention immediately shifted away from the championship picture straight to pure survival and recovery. The overarching question wasn't about Topuria's legacy anymore, it was simply, man, how badly is he actually hurt?
And I think this next point brilliantly illustrates just how severe the situation really was. Even UFC CEO Dana White was visibly concerned. To put that into perspective, just think about what Dana White is used to witnessing on a weekly basis, okay? The guy oversees broken bones, terrifying highlight reel knockouts, unbelievably brutal wars, and sudden championship collapses. Extreme violence is his baseline. He typically shrugs these things off as just another Saturday night at the office.
Yet, his reaction to this specific bout was totally unprecedented. Dana White wasn't up at the press conference excitedly talking about future matchmaking. The conversation wasn't about what's next, it was entirely about recovery, healing, and how long it might realistically take before Topuria could even think about competing again. Seeing that level of genuine concern from the promotion's brass, it underscored just how punishing those final rounds were, stripping away all the spectacle and leaving only the harsh reality of the physical toll.
But then, we actually heard from the fighter himself. And honestly, when everyone was fully expecting the usual excuses, a bad weight cut, a lingering injury from camp, we got this. So here is the crucial point. Without making a single excuse, Topuria accepted defeat, gave full credit to his opponent, and stated he believes he'll return stronger, smarter, and more dangerous. It was an incredibly grounded, mature response to his first real taste of career adversity. He faced the music, praised Gaethje, and made it crystal clear that this chapter is far from over.
And that defiant statement has essentially split the fan base right down the middle, creating two major competing theories about his future legacy. Theory 1 is the ultimate comeback story. This is the camp that believes going through this profound adversity is actually going to forge Topuria into a much more terrifying, disciplined champion. But then you have Theory 2, which argues that the aura is gone forever. The thought here is that by losing his undefeated status in such a grinding, punishing way, all his weaknesses are now permanently out there on tape, and he'll never get that psychological edge back over his peers.
Which brings us to the ultimate question hanging over the entire division right now. Did Justin Gaethje expose the blueprint to beat Ilia Topuria? Is there now a proven formula of dragging him into the deep, dark waters of an attritional war that future opponents are gonna use? History always shows us that great champions aren't defined by their victories, but by how they rise from defeat. So what version of Ilia Topuria are we actually gonna see when he finally returns to the octagon? And the biggest question of all, has the secret to defeating the untouchable champion finally been unlocked?